Hi, B group. A group is here. We are so close to not making videos anymore. I can't wait. That's what I was just saying. So today we have a video. Tomorrow we have a video. Monday we're all back together. Yay! Yay! I'm so excited. B group, tomorrow you have a vocabulary quiz over roots 11 to 20. I'll be checking your chapter 2 homework and your chapter 3 notes. Again, for all of you too. You did good. You saw that it was chapter 3, so I had mentioned before that we were going to go to chapter 21 next, but we are not. We're going to go ahead and do chapter 3 because we're all back together. So that's what we'll do. This is super important. This chapter is hard. Like, take whatever grade you got on the last test and drop it a letter grade, and that should be what you expect on this chapter 3 test.
Well, I failed the last.
Some of you, that's a G, so that's not good.
I don't know how lower I can
right.
go.
So you need to be taking your stuff home every night to study. What you should be doing is every night, whenever we go over stuff in class, you can go back to the YouTube channel and you can re-watch the video if you want to. You don't have to, but you could. You need to watch the videos when you're at home. You need to watch the videos that are linked in the PowerPoint. We have our test. I forget the date that I put it. I put it on the in the Google Classroom. It's like not until October 8th or something. So we're going to spend a lot of time in this chapter. This chapter we have a quiz. So instead of like just the test, we have a quiz before the test so you can see how ready you are for the test. Oh, my neck is all twisty. So.
Is it like a grade quiz?
Yes, it is like a grade quiz. And it is not a Scantron quiz. It is a fill in the blank quiz with no word bank quiz.
That sounds very
Yes.
cool.
That's not for like 2 Fridays, I think. Or 2 Thursdays, I'm not sure. Okay. So it is, this chapter is super, 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 super important. Make sure you are doing what you need to be doing so that you can pass this test. You sit in class and listen, you're not going to pass the test. You have to study. And then the problem with this chapter too, it's new stuff. You've never learned this before. It's hard, and we build on this for the rest of the year. If you don't get this chapter now, you're going to be in trouble for the rest of the year because we just build on it. So make sure you are studying like you should be studying. Okay, so this chapter, we start talking about organic chemistry. A big chunk of your keystone is on this chapter. But we need to understand what organic means. So look at this list, just in your brain. Actually, I think it's in your notes, right? So if you look at your notes at the first part of your notes, it's there, right, in chapter 3. Okay, is it there? Yes or no? No? What are they, organic or inorganic? What's wool? You. Organic, okay. I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong, but we'll talk. Cotton.
Organic.
Glass.
Inorganic.
Paper.
Non-organic.
I'm not pointing at you. I'm pointing at you. What do you think? Pardon?
Inorganic.
Okay. Potted plant.
That's definitely
Organic?
Okay. Carbon dioxide. Organic. Okay. What made you decide if those were organic or inorganic?
I honestly could not tell you.
How many say just random guesses?
Well, kind of.
Okay.
Living things. Like you get it from something like living. Right?
You get it from something living. That's good. That's a good way to think of it. So, do we get wool from something living?
Yeah.
Yeah, from what? Sheep. How about cotton?
Yeah.
Yeah? How about glass?
No.
Where do you get glass?
Sand.
Sand?
Yeah. No.
They melt the sand. How do you know that?
Minecraft.
I don't remember. I just do.
Minecraft. I was going to say, I was waiting for Minecraft because probably until Minecraft came up, there was this movie called Sweet Home Alabama. Has anybody ever seen Sweet Home Alabama?
No.
And this guy, they live in Alabama, obviously, because it's Sweet Home Alabama. And he like goes out onto the beach after thunderstorms. He like puts these lightning rods in the sand, and then it makes these really cool glass structures. So that's how people used to know it, but now they know it from Minecraft. My kid loves Minecraft.
I love Minecraft.
Do you?
But they don't use it.
Paper. Where do we get paper?
Trees.
Trees. Potted plants?
Plants.
Plants, right, they're plants. Okay, how about carbon dioxide?
Wait, so is paper
Also-
organic or not?
Yes.
It is?
It is. Where does it come from?
Oh, look at that tree.
Trees. You like mush up trees and make this paste and then roll the paste out and
That's weird.
yeah.
Okay.
When I visit, my best friend lives in Portland. I went to visit her years ago when she first moved out there. And we went to see Mount St. Helens, which was super awesome. But on the way to Mount St. Helens, there was this big forest. And it had these signs, and like some places it was cut down and some places it wasn't. So what it was a cardboard forest. So it was from warehouses. Like the trees weren't made out of cardboard, but the trees were used for cardboard. So they would have a sign, and the sign said like planted in whatever year, and then it would say to be harvested in whatever year. So they would take chunks all the way up this mountain, and they're not like mountains here, they're like ginormous mountains. They would, what was I gonna say? They would like plant them and then harvest them when the trees were ready to make the paper, to make the cardboard, which is paper. Yeah.
Which is a very thick paper.
Right. So they just compress it differently. And then there's cardboard, because you know cardboard has different like strengths.
Like air holes.
Yes. Yep, this little air holes, that little triangles for extra strength. Carbon dioxide, where do we get carbon dioxide?
Plants. No.
Trees and plants use it.
Okay.
Where do they get it?
We breathe it out.
We breathe it out. So what is it?
Exhale.
Okay, this is the one exception to, this is actually inorganic. And I'll tell you why in a second. What does it mean for food to be organic?
Fresh.
Fresh.
Living thing.
Anybody else?
I don't know.
Okay, so generally when people think of things that are organic as far as food, I'm sure stuff, they usually say it's grown without pesticides or without herbicides. That is not true. It's grown without a certain number or amount of pesticides or herbicides in order to be considered organic. It also does not mean genetically modified. So you'll sometimes see, I don't think I put it up here, genetically modified is like a circle and it says GMO in it. That is different as well. So in science, it's different that how we classify things that are organic than in the food industry. I need to remember this in. So in the food industry, organic means that it has under a certain amount of chemicals in it. In science, it means that it contains carbon. So an easy way, so you were correct in that these things all come from living things. And because those things all come from living things, they contain carbon. The one exception to that rule is carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide contains carbon, obviously, but it is considered to be not organic. It is inorganic. So this chapter, we are talking about organic chemistry. So what do you think everything's going to deal with?
And living things. Wow. Carbon dioxide.
Carbon. Everything deals with carbon. So all organic compounds contain carbon, except for carbon dioxide, which does contain carbon, I'm seeing a glare, but is not considered to be organic. That did nothing. It's like up there farther. That's okay. Why carbon? If we remember, and we drew it last chapter, carbon has 6 electrons. So 2 go in the outer shell, and then 4, in the first shell, 4 go in the second shell. Carbon, because it has 4 electrons in its outer shell, it wants to bond with 4 things in order to fill that outer shell, fill that valence shell. And carbon is unique because, again, carbon wants 4 things. Yes, there's lots of things that have 4 electrons in its outer shell that are going to want to have more electrons. Carbon is different, though, because it bonds with other carbons. Some things don't like to bond to each other. It's going to bond, make single bonds. It can make double bonds. It can make triple bonds. We're going to look at that in a second. Oh, sorry. Does anybody know why there's like bulldozers on the baseball field?
There is?
Yeah.
No, there is. There's 2.
They're just little baby bulldozers.
Baby bulldozers. That's.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe they're good at something cool.
I'm going to come back to this one. I'm not going to draw it right now. We are going to talk about hydrocarbons. What two words do you see in hydrocarbon? Hydro and carbon. So what do you think it's going to contain? Hydrogen and carbon. That's right. What is the easiest way to do this so I don't break everything? Let's move this bad guy.
Oh, I didn't know that move. I thought you were ripping it off the thing. Okay.
Does that give me enough space? It does not give me enough space. Okay.
Anybody else think that she's just like pulling it off the wall?
I'm so strong I can just pull it right off the wall. We're going to go over here. Join us, won't you? I need the thing that Mr. Pratt has. He just has rolly tables. Okay, so let's draw. How far can I go? I can go to here. So if I have carbon, and we said it has 2 electrons in its outer shell, inner shell, and then it's got 4. So if it's going to bind with hydrogen, and we drew this before, it's going to have hydrogen here, hydrogen here, hydrogen here, and a hydrogen here. Okay. So now, how many electrons does this hydrogen have? 1, 2. It's filled. How many does this one have? 2.
Oh.
This one?
2,
This one?
2,
How many does carbon have?
2.
I don't know.
2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. We can draw it like this. We're not going to draw it like this anymore because this takes a lot of time and it's messy and confusing. Instead, we're going to start drawing it like this. And each one of these lines symbolizes this, the 2 electrons. Okay? So here we would know 2 electrons, 2, 2, 2. So we would know that the carbon has 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay? When we look at hydrocarbons, we have, and we're going to look at them, so we have like a carbon, 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 carbon. Okay? Is this the one I want to draw? Yeah, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how many electrons did we say that carbon wants to have? How many bonds does it want to make?
4.
4. Let's make 4 bonds. Okay. How many things is this carbon bonded to right now? 1. So how many more bonds does it need to make to get to 4?
3.
3. So we would, and then we would put hydrogens. How many bonds does this carbon have? 2. So how many hydrogens does it need? 2. Good. How many does this one have? How many does it need? 2. Good. How many does this one have? 2. How many does it need? Actually, wait, this should be gone. How many does it have? 1. So how many does it need? 3. What's our chemical formula? C what H what? How many carbons are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many hydrogens?
1, 2, 8,
10. C4H10. We just made butane. That's one way that we can make butane. But carbon does weird things.
Okay.
This is the next slide that you can't see. It can bind to make other stuff. So it can bind. We call this straight chain. Why do you think we call it straight chain?
Straight.
Because it's straight and it's in a chain.
Okay.
Easy. We can also draw it, the next one up there is in a branched structure. say I have this. Okay? Now, this carbon has how many bonds? How many hydrogens does it need? 3.
3.
How many does this one have?
1.
How many does it need? 3.
I'm really tired.
How many does this one have? 3. How many does it need? They're just grunting now. How many does this one have? 1. How many does it need? 3. What is the chemical formula of this? As soon as I get here. C what? H what? 1, 2, 3, 4. H what? 4, 5, 6. What? 10. We call that branched.
Mine looks like a 16 and I'm a 10.
I'm writing sideways.
No, I said
Jeez
mine.
Louise. I gotta get my chair out of the way. Ah!
Oh.
I just knocked over the trash can.
That's what you get.
We can also draw it like this.
You made fun of my grunting.
Oh, I'm so bad at this.
A Christmas tree.
Circle.
A square.
Well, I thought it was going to be a Christmas tree.
How many does this carbon have?
Festive person, aren't
2.
you?
So how many does it need?
2.
How many does this guy have?
2.
How many does he need?
2. I think.
How many does this guy have?
2.
How many does he need?
2.
How many does this guy have?
2.
How many does he need?
2.
What's his formula?
C4.
Oh, nope.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
8.
6, 8.
She's really competent.
Yes,
C4H chain. H. What am I saying? C4H8. That's what we call in a ring structure.
I'm not.
So all of these are hydrocarbons because what are the only things that are on there?
Carbon.
And
Hydrogen.
hydrogen. There's just carbons and hydrogens. But we can show it in lots of different ways. We can draw the actual electrons. We're not going to anymore because it takes too much time. We can draw, they're in a straight chain. Sometimes they're branched, sometimes they're in ring structure, and we're going to look at them as we move along because their structure is going to dictate what they do. We're going to say that over and over and over and over again. That structure dictates function because the shape of it is going to determine what it does. Oh, you can mask break. Ooh. Excuse me. So, what was I going to say? Oh, this guy's different. So this guy was C4H10, H8. So he's a little different. But these two were both C4H10. What was our root? We had that root that was last week, iso. Do you remember what that meant? Like an isotope. Isotopes have the same number of protons, different number of neutrons. Iso means equal. So, we are going to look at what are called isomers. Slide. And an isomer, I can't wait to be done. No, my tripod's just done. Okay. Isomers are two molecules that have the same molecular formula, but they are shaped different. So when we look at these, this is what we call butane, and this is called isobutane. Same molecular formula, they're both C4H10, but they're shaped differently, therefore they're going to react differently to each other. Are you drawing? Can you see?
I was trying to figure out the word, but I can't read it. I don't know why.
Branched?
Yeah, I couldn't read
Branched.
that for some reason.
I don't know. Any questions on that? Okay, I have chalk everywhere. Okay, A group. No, B group. I'll see you tomorrow. You have a vocab quiz. Your homework is due, chapter 2 homework, because I didn't check it on Tuesday. And You have a vocabulary quiz. What's the other thing that I'm telling them? Chapter 3 notes. I will see you tomorrow.